Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Maham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Welcome. So last week we stopped at the topic of samadhi. Swami Paramarthananda said samadhi is not a mystical experience. So isn't it interesting that there is so much mysticism in spirituality? And once we come to Vedanta, all of that is crushed by people like Swami Paramarthananda and James Watson and many others. They just say, oh, Vedanta has zero to do with mysticism or esotericism and so on. Huh? So it has nothing to do with a mystical experience. It is a spontaneous and total absorption in a single thought. So we can be absorbed in whatsoever thought, but as we know, if we attach ourselves by associating with thoughts of objects, we will be in trouble, because every object we get attached to is going to cause samsara, attachment, and the feeling that I may need to hold it, to keep it, or to push it away. So we don't want to engage and contemplate on thoughts unless it is a thought referring to our limitless, infinite nature as consciousness, and then we can relax as consciousness. But generally speaking, he said that samadhi is just an absorption in one thought. So it could be any thought, could be any mantra, but the best mantra is what? Is I am that limitless consciousness. So this is the best, the most profound, the most liberating mantra, because it takes us to our limitless nature. Anything else is going to take us to another factor, another principle. If we think of God as the manifest Ishvara or any deity, that thought is going to take us again to something which is part of mithya, an apparent reality, something that is not always present. Remember Papaji, when he first went to see, finally he went to see a true guru or a perfect guru, as he used to say. He went to see Ramana, and Ramana asked him, show me your God. And then he did some sadhana, because he said, no, my God, Krishna is not here with me. I have to do my sadhana. And then Papaji said, okay, do your sadhana and show me your God to me. And then he said, well, it's not that simple. I have to concentrate and so on. And then he said, what is the good of a thought, of something that is not always available, that requires effort, and it's not always available. So what is the difference with samadhi as presented by the Jnana Yoga of Vedanta is that you're going to hold your mind in one thought, which is always ever present. The light of your own consciousness shining in your own intellect, illumining your world. So you are keeping your mind on something that is always ever present, never modifying, not even to experience. No experience modifies that which is limitless, and nirvikalpa does not change, does not modify. Samadhi is a total love of the self. Fundamentally, is an absorption in the self as the thought of the self until one understands that this consciousness bringing about in this intellect the thought of the self is the real self. The meditator forgets his or her presence during this process of samadhi. There is no thought, I am thinking, I am meditating, and none of that is on because there is total absorption. And then there is something about nirvikalpa samadhi, is something that the meditator disappears. And then only later on it can infer that I was there and I have experienced something very refreshing, very peaceful, which was the lack of objects or tangible objects. So the absence of duality, subject-object duality. So that can be inferred and so on. The next three verses are the fruit of nididhyasana according to Yoga Shastra. So that may be a very interesting paragraph. I ask forgiveness. I was running. I had some problems here, and I haven't read. Usually I read a little bit the verse and the book before we begin. The verse is the fifth line. As a result of a nirvikalpa samadhi, countless results of actions accumulated in the beginningless world over past and present births, vasanas, are destroyed, and the karma that is helpful to self-realization growth, and the dharma, karma or dharma, that is helpful to self-realization growth. So this is from the angle of yoga. There is a great emphasis on nirvikalpa samadhi as a great purifier. So they say that the best possible purifier is nirvikalpa samadhi. That is the beginningless discussion between the yogis and the jnanis. They say that the best purifier is nirvikalpa samadhi. And then the jnanis say, no, the best purifier is understanding, knowledge, jnana. Yeah? And the discussions will never come to an end. But I'm suspicious to say that jnana, or knowledge, understanding, is more efficacious in destroying vasana, destroying negative tendencies, disturbing tendencies. And but some people may say, no, it is nirvikalpa samadhi. So you have to go into a state that there is no object, and even the experiencing entity evaporates more or less like in the state of deep sleep. Of course, if you become a nirvikalpa samadhi freak, a maniac, and then you just you withdraw from the world completely. And just imagine if your life is just about sleeping and then going into nirvikalpa samadhi, sleeping and going to nirvikalpa samadhi. So what's going to happen with all one's vasanas? So one's vasanas, of course, is going to die of something I often call starvation. Starvation, because what feeds our vasanas are our engagement. We need to have these tendencies, and then we need to say, oh, yes, good idea, let's do it, So our engagement is what feeds those vasanas, because vasanas, desires, words, actions that are going to feed into our vasana load, usually reinforcing or modifying slightly the same vasanas. So imagine that you became a nirvikalpa samadhi freaky, and you go to nirvikalpa samadhi with no effort, and you enjoy it. I mean, one may say, come on, man, you are missing life here. Doesn't matter, I like nirvikalpa samadhi. But then the result is that your vasanas are going to be burned in nirvikalpa samadhi, because you are not engaging any one of those tendencies. You're not even project them in certain locus between two births, or you are not projecting them in the overnight, during the night, in the state of dream state. You understand? So you were there, and the vasanas, they are going to dry because they have no nutrition. Nutrition is our attention, our engagement. So therefore, they say nirvikalpa samadhi, countless results of actions over past and present births, vasanas, are destroyed. And the Dharma that is helpful to self-realization growth. The Dharma here is a certain mental condition or environment in which the mind is so sattvic and so pure, that it is the best possible environment for self-inquiry and self-knowledge. But as we know, people who get attached, people who become a nirvikalpa samadhi freak, often they see value in nirvikalpa samadhi in itself. It's no longer medium to purify, but it is the goal. They believe that nirvikalpa samadhi is the ultimate goal. Nirvikalpa samadhi is the synonymous of enlightenment and so on. So it's a good discussion. Why although I'm suspicious, I see that the path of understanding, following the logic as presented by the Upanishads, it's going to solve the problem, and without having to escape one's life and go run to the cave or run to the forest or to an ashram to find an environment that you can meditate 24/7. So without having to do that, you just apply the knowledge to your mind again and again on a regular basis until it gradually begins knocking down all those bits and pieces of ignorance that extroverts the mind, creating mental disturbance. And this extroversion, this mental disturbance, it's going to make it more difficult to understand the final teachings of Vedanta. Yes, Ruth?
So I have a question in relation to Ananda then. So if you are, if you're in Satchitananda, say, so what could you consider that, if you're in the state of peace as a samadhi? I mean, if couldn't you call them the same thing? If you're experiencing that joy of what you are.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it, but
yeah, no, that's what it is. If we want to remove all these mystical, experiential connotations around samadhi, you are left with something that I often point to as the true Ananda. The true Ananda is best described as Shanti, peace. You understand? Yeah. Peace is the best experiential feeling of Ananda, because when our mind is resolved, we feel peace. There is no conflicting thoughts and emotions operating.
So even in your daily experiences, you could be in a state of peace.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In samadhi, in essence, when you're going about your daily life, right?
Definitely. That's called sahaja samadhi. It's the nature of samadhi, the nature state. When the mind is no longer under this pool of desires and aversions and experience conflicting thoughts and emotions, and that unpleasant, rajasic, tamasic mental state, when it's settled, all of that, because one has somehow, either by yoga or by Vedanta, clear the mind or pacify the mind, and then there is this resolution, mental, emotional resolution that makes us experience this peace that passes all understanding. You understand? And this is sahaja samadhi, because the world remains and the experiencer of the world remains, and there is this beautiful state You understand? So, I mean, enlightenment or self-realization is not a state, but as a bonus, it brings about a state.
The thoughts still come, but you just dismiss them.
Yeah, they don't have the sense of reality as before to really disturb the mind. I mean, not to say that a certain thought may grab the yoni and he may have a moment of disturbance, but he recomposes, he reposes himself, I forgot how to say it, very quickly, you recover very quickly because the self-knowledge is available, is clear and retained properly. And then immediate one remembers what is Satya, what's Mithya, what is Ishvara, what is Jiva, and then one just remains established in this Ananta, which is better described as Shanti, peace, unless one likes really so much to remove the world by going into nirvikalpa samadhi, Oh, I'm so tired of this world, and then check out and go. Why you have to go to the mini nirvikalpa samadhi? Go to the big one, Just leave the body, and then you sleep for a long period of time. Just joking. The Yoga Shastra says that Sanchita karmas will be destroyed by this samadhi, but Vedanta says that jnanam, self-knowledge, destroys Sanchita. How about that? Huh? So, so the young people, the Yoga Shastra says that Sanchita. So we have a Gami karma that becomes Prarabdha karma, and between our actions present to the field and the results of the actions, so these karmas, they remain suspended as Sanchita, okay? This suspension of karma, waiting to fructify or to manifest as our life circumstance, it has already the power to affect our mental condition. It's suspended, okay? But it has already a certain power to condition our mental condition, okay, to influence our mental condition. So this Sanchita that's there waiting to fructify, meanwhile, influence our mental condition, our prarabdha karma, before even it fructifies. So this Sanchita, the Yoga says that will be destroyed by this samadhi, this nirvikalpa samadhi. But Vedanta says that self-knowledge destroys Sanchita karma, okay? So it's said that Sanchita is destroyed as well as Agami karma is destroyed because the yoni no longer claims himself or herself to be the doer of actions. You understand? So when you understand that all actions are being done by this system called Ishvara and everything, and involves so many factors, and you being the agent designed to experience and respond is only one small factor among many others. So once that is understood, and besides that, there is an understanding of what the self is as the only reality, and then the whole play is coming, but the yoni is no longer feeding into Sanchita because his actions do not come loaded with that charge which is called the sense of ownership, doership, and so on. So one is doing things, but is not thinking, this is my actions, and therefore I'm going to have to deal with Sanchita, and so on. You understand? So not to say that self-knowledge is going to burn all the Sanchitas, because Sanchitas, they many times, they remain suspended from one lifetime to another, from one birth to a birth, because even when we stop identifying with our actions, and then we say, now I understood that all actions belong to Ishvara, I understood that my true nature is consciousness, and I am not the doer. First, because I'm consciousness and I am a karta, and second, because the guy who does the actions is Ishvara. So this double understanding is going to make it in a way that I'm not feeding into the Sanchita load of vasanas waiting to fructify. But there are Sanchitas that are hanging there because a lifetime goes and we keep acting. In the end, we act less when we get older, but we think more. But thoughts as well, they produce results of thoughts. Thoughts and words produce results. So all of that it's a huge system that when the time the vital air leaves the physical body, it's not that what is going to do with all your agami karmas, all your Sanchita karmas, So when the music stops, we have all those Sanchita and those agamis and those Sanchitas, they are there, okay? And then we need to have another birth. And then Ishvara knows how to designate all the Sanchitas individual for every individual soul, as we know. So it's said that the Yoni is going to ultimately, eventually, destroy Sanchita because it has destroyed the identification as the one doing the agami karma, the one acting out with the sense that I am the doer, you understand? So the sense of doership is not there, okay? And then the sense that this is my Sanchita, and not even that this is my Prarabdha karma. So there is a little discussion, some passage in our text says that there is only Prarabdha karma for the Yoni. So what does that mean? So there is only Prarabdha karma. There is no agami and there is no Sanchita because the Yoni has broken the sense of identification. But there is Prarabdha. So, but there is really Prarabdha. So in truth, there is not really Prarabdha, not even Prarabdha karma for the Yoni. It appears that there is. Why? Because we see the beautiful Ramana suffering of a cancer as his Prarabdha karma, something that had something to do with past birth or even this incarnation. Maybe he did some things that have, but the karma came to him. It is his Prarabdha karma. And then people say, no, it's strange, but there is Prarabdha karma. But even there is no Prarabdha karma for the Yoni. There is Prarabdha karma for the body mind of the Yoni. The body is going to suffer. The mind may get really sad and painful and depressed in deep pain, as we could see the expression of Ramana in the last few moments of his life, with suffering a lot of physical pain, you understand, with tears dropping his eyes. He was so stubborn that he did not want to take any painkiller, not even for surgeries that they did not want to take anesthetics and so on. So there is for the body, mind, but there isn't really for the Yoni, because the Yoni can say, this all belongs to the body mind. The body mind belongs to Ishvara, and furthermore, I am consciousness. I'm out of this whole play. You understand? So yoga says that nirvikalpa samadhi is going to destroy Sanchita, but Vedanta says that jnana, knowledge, self-knowledge, destroys Sanchita. Sanchita is
Arlindo.
Yeah.
Arlindo, I want to say that just today I had a reflection about this, because for chance, I see a video on internet that talks about samadhi, and I had a thought about that. And because he was explaining this in the way of yoga or something about that, and explains that nirvikalpa samadhi is the most, the illumination, moksha, on everything. So I see this video and say, yeah, look, this is the topic that we always talk about. And I was thinking about that. Maybe could it be that it is jnana that, for example, Ayani, it's so firm in his knowledge that purifies his mind so perfectly, how we say, that he can reach also this mental state of nirvikalpa samadhi. Maybe it's jnana that purifies the mind, but at the end you can also maybe reach this state, so this mind so perfect, so pure, that at the end it's like a state of mind that a man can reach, for example, and he can reach nirvikalpa samadhi, where you manage all your thought, all your senses.
I got it. Yeah.
Could it be?
I got your point, and I got it read half a minute ago, and it indicates to me that you want to reach nirvikalpa samadhi by the means of jnana yoga.
No, not really.
But you are not going to get there. They are two different kinds of actions. Okay, the effort, the karmas that you put to gain nirvikalpa samadhi are of a different nature and quality as the karma that you put on to gain self-knowledge. There are two different kinds of actions, okay? One is about controlling the mind and create an environment, and you keep your focus that you want to go into nirvikalpa samadhi, and then if you do that long enough, you get there. So there are different kinds of yanis. There is a yani that is a yogi. Somehow he experienced both worlds. Yeah? He had a vasana for, Ramana is a clear example. He was a yogi. He experienced a lot of nirvikalpa samadhi, but he came out with a clear self-knowledge to the extent that in the end he went and he read all the Upanishads and the scriptures of Vedanta, you understand? And he came up to say that only by knowledge the self can really be here realized, okay? So there are two different kinds of sadhanas or actions, okay? So you cannot do a certain action and get a result which does not belong to, to the same nature, is not in conformity with what you are doing, okay? So it does not work that way. But a yani, as you said, is going to create a certain samadhi, but the samadhi of the yani is more or less like Ruth was explaining. It is the mind is pacified, and it's pacified in a way that with self-knowledge, when the self-knowledge is clear, it's pacified more permanently, let's say, with much less fluctuation. Sometimes before this knowledge is firmly assimilated and internalized, we have moments in which the mind is nicely pacified and we get a feeling of samadhi, of sahaja samadhi. There is this beautiful peace and mental, emotional resolution, balance. And then we say, wow, this is it, like the this is it gurus in the Neo-Advaita environment, they say, this is it. No, this is not it. You are it, okay? But if you know that you are it, you're going to experience more and more a mental resolution or state in which your mind is pacified. Why the mind is going to be pacified? It's going pacified because you have addressed the root cause of mental disturbance, which is ignorance in regards to your true nature, in regards to the nature of the objects that appear in Mithya, in regards to the nature of Ishvara. So you're going to have to, to make your vision right in a certain way that your mind is going to be free from this magnetic pull of samsara that somehow keeps pulling and, attracting and repulsion and control, trying to control. And all of that is bringing about a lot of negative, disturbing feelings and emotions, because we can't control. So when you understand that we can't control, when we understand that we are the light that illumines all this display, and then the mind, such a mind is no longer victimized, is no longer tyrannically, under the force of a vidya, desires and aversions disturbing the mind. So it's ultimately is the only way to really pacify the mind in a more permanent way. Otherwise, you do it with nirvikalpa samadhi, which takes an enormous amount of vasanas to create that momentum. And then by doing that, you're going to sleep most through your life. You're going to miss up a lot of lessons that life may have to you as necessary for one's growth. You understand? You're going to be sleeping and sleeping and enjoy the peace of sleeping, developing more and more purity. But still, there are some lessons that you are meant to learn or not, you know. But you can go into nirvikalpa samadhi, come out and never addressing the very ignorance that has created mental disturbance to begin with. You know? Whereas if you address this mental disturbance in their roots, you will find that all of that is due to self-ignorance and ignorance in respect to the nature of reality in general. You know? So I'm suspicious to say, but the jnana is the only way, like a lot of people say.
Yeah, I totally agree in that. I only had this thought. I imagine that maybe I saw that nirvikalpa samadhi could be like a side effect of a great knowledge, a great
No. We have seen in the previous verse here that is the momentum, of one's previous efforts for samadhi. It's what's going to keep bringing samadhi. So you need to effort less because there is a momentum of previous effort, but the effort have to be of the same nature. You understand? Yeah. You cannot make an effort to become wealthy or prosperity, you know, to have a lot of money and wealth and so on. You make an effort in that direction, and then instead of fructifying that direction, it fructifies in another direction, and you get enlightened. No, it's a different nature of effort. Okay. Understand?
Okay.
Sanchita is the store of karma sitting in the causal body, waiting to fructify. So Sanchita karmas are all the immediate subjective results of our actions that are there waiting to fructify. Okay, so let's give a simple example. So I have a discussion with Claudio. Claudio says something that I don't like, and then I say some things that he doesn't like, and then he feels resentful, okay? And then his mind is going to be feeling resentful, no? A little hurt, okay? So, and I will be feeling a little guilt because I shouldn't have said what I said, for example, okay? So, but things did not manifest totally because consciously or unconsciously, in the near future, Cloud comes and does something to hurt me, you understand? And then when he does effectively, and then it has fructified, but it was already subjectively fructifying before it became objectively fructified, because it keeps affecting the subject reality of the one doing the actions, or in this case, in interaction with another jiva, you understand? So this Sanchita is the powerhouse, as it said here, is the storehouse of all karma, okay? Sitting where? In the causal body, okay, in our subconscious mind, waiting to fructify. Yoga says that samadhi produces spiritual merit, punyam, and it does. So yoga, any effort is going to produce the spiritual punya. Vedanta is not focused on spiritual punya. It's not focused on punya karma, although it notes its value with reference to the qualifications. So again, there is a clear distinction between these two paths. So to yoga, nirvikalpa samadhi is the goal, okay? And the more you do this effort to produce nirvikalpa, the closer you're going to come to establish a vasana for nirvikalpa samadhi. So it's going to be producing what? Punya, merits, tendencies, nirvikalpa samadhi vasana, okay? So in other words, you are producing spiritual punya karma. So you create a vasana that's going to be conducive more and more to your nirvikalpa samadhi. So yoga is interested in what? In punya karma. What is punya karma? Punya karma is the result of our actions which are favorable to my goal, my desire. Okay, I want good results, and it's the results in reference to my actions, my efforts. So the yoga is always concerned about the results of actions. Those are two totally different paths. Yoga is action that is going to produce, invariably is going to produce an experience as the result. The action that's going to bring about an experience as a result. Okay? And if we do an action, we want to have what? A good experience, punya results, punya karma. If I do a spiritual action, I want to produce what? I want to produce the spiritual punya results, punya karma. Yeah? So yoga is all about that, doing an action which is going to produce a result, and this result is going to be a nice, favorable experience. Vedanta does not care for action. In fact, Vedanta says that no action will ever produce the ultimate result, because the result, what we are searching as yanis, as inquirers, okay, is not a result of any limited action, because any whatsoever action we do is very limited, because every human jiva is limited. So any action is going to produce a limited result. Okay, so even nirvikalpa samadhi is limited by time because it does not last forever. Okay, so Vedanta says there is no action that's going to produce what you are really seeking for. You are seeking for something that's not a fleeting good result. You are seeking for something that's going to pacify once for all your mind. And that is only possible by recognizing that which you already are. Therefore, that does not require any action to become. You already are free, limitless, infinite consciousness. You already are that. You need to understand that. And then the actions of Vedanta, if we want to call them actions, they are intellectual actions, an effort to understand those pointers, those logics presented by Vedanta. And then what is it going to produce? Actions are going to produce experience. Inquiry or investigation is going to produce what? Is going to produce knowledge, understanding. Okay? My internet is so bad, freezing. Okay. I think he left. David. So the result of inquiry, of investigation, is knowledge, whereas the result of actions is an experience. Okay, so Vedanta is not for experience, it's not for the result, it's not for punya karma. Okay, Vedanta is not focused on that, although it notes its value with the reference to the qualifications. What does that mean? It means that although our goal is not punya karma, as I often say, but punya karma is not bad at all, provided you know that punya karma is not the end. Punya karma as a means is good. Why? Because if you have good results, you have good experience, your neighbors like you, the friends and the environment, so you keep being nice with the world is nice with you, so to speak. So, and then you are creating an environment that is favorable, is conducive to to peace of mind. And we need a peaceful mind, a peaceful intellect to do our inquiry, our work in a way that we can really understand the Aham Brahmasmi, right? So punya karma is not bad, but it's not the end, okay? With reference to the qualifications, it has its value. But, just imagine if you have to depend on punya karma. It's said that all these sages, many sages and saints who are not self-realized, they have to keep working to produce punya, spiritual punya karma, and then they end up leaving the body, going to one of these lokas, and then they exhaust the punya karma, and guess what? And they are not liberated. They have been sitting on some celestial lokas, enjoying a lot of punya, but then when they empty their karma account, so what happened? They have to come back and then work to produce more savings. You understand? So Vedanta says, don't get into this game of doing actions to create savings, punya karma. So just try to understand your nature, which is beyond action altogether, right? So that you do not need to come back to do more action to produce more savings for celestial lokas. You understand? Vedanta is interested in destroy good and bad karma, both together. It's destroy good karma is a strong word there. Okay, because before the yoga was saying that samadhi is going to destroy a lot of bad karma, and then he say Vedanta is going to destroy both. But what it means here is that Vedanta is interested in going beyond, taking you beyond good and bad karma. So we don't want to depend on good karma or bad karma, because we have no control over the karma, over the Dharma field. We may have on our personal account a lot of efforts, a lot of good actions to produce my good spiritual punya. But then there is something that happens on the universal level or planetary level, and then we all have to go through a planetary papa karma, and then you're like, oh my God, I worked so hard to create an environment of pure punya, and now there is, the world is going crazy with this and that. So it's better you don't rely on that. Yeah? You want to go beyond good and bad karma and understand your nature beyond actions and results. Vedanta says that this samadhi will remove the obstacles to the purification of mind. So Vedanta endorses yoga. That's why we have yoga, upasana yoga. We're seeing the 5 stages in our Vedanta process: karma, dharma, upasana, and then shravana, manana, and nididhyasana. Yeah. So it's okay. Vedanta says samadhi will remove the obstacles. The vasanas appear in the samadhi, but they have no way to act out because there is no conscious self-ignorance available to turn them into actions, which allows them to burn up in the samadhi. So that's the same logic that I have presented before. If we don't engage it, we don't energize those vasanas, they are going to die of starvation. The verse says that samadhi produces the dharma that is helpful to self-realization. This samadhi produces the dharma that is helpful to self. This statement contradicts the popular belief that nirvikalpa samadhi is self-realization. So most people in the spiritual world believe that nirvikalpa samadhi is enlightenment or self-realization. Now, it's going to produce a nice mental environment that is helpful in the process of self-inquiry and self-recognition, okay? Nothing more than that. The following verse, the experts in yoga call this samadhi a rain cloud of Dharma, punyam, because it pours forth countless showers of the bliss of punyam, Dharma. So this again, the yoga people, they like to present this beautiful experiential language, showers of bliss, showers of transcendental bliss, and it's over. I mean, in general, there are some experience like that, but if you really go into nirvikalpa samadhi, there is no experiencer to begin with. So it's just integral part of the yoga vocabulary to have all these amazing, beautiful words. But it's a rain clouds of punyam. Okay. Showers of bliss. No, it's showers of non-duality, let's say. People are there. The subject-object duality fades, and then there is a beautiful Anandamaya kosha, self-induced Anandamaya kosha, that somehow makes one feel very good when they come out of it. Usually they feel very good when they come out. We feel good when we have an excellent night of sleep. And it's said that the people who do a lot of samadhi, when they come out, they come feeling very good, very refreshed, very sharp. You remember the story I told you guys about the guy I met in Trout Lake many years back, who was an English player. He was a band player, a pop player, and he had this nirvikalpa samadhi working for him, and he used to do a little bit of samadhi before his shows, and he said that his mind would clear, and then his artistic ability would become so creative, and he would play like, better than any drugs he used to take in the past. Dharma-megha samadhi is a rain cloud of Dharma. Rain was considered a great blessing in India, a hot, dry country. So in yoga, moksa is an event that's supposed to occur at a particular time. Vedanta says that there is only one ever free self, and that we are the self. So freedom is not an event, it is our very nature. But this samadhi is a great blessing in that it produces intense dispassion, which is absolutely necessary for the discrimination and liberation. So again, samadhi has its value. And again, the problem with the people going for samadhi is that they see samadhi as an end, not as a mean. Patanjali was dualist, and yoga is for doers of actions. Yogs do not concentrate on I am limitless awareness, as we know. They do practice to gain experience. Patanjali thought that the jiva and awareness were different. Okay, consciousness or Brahman is one thing, and the jiva is different. So the yogi has to do something to connect, to join, to merge, at least for some time, with Brahman. So Patanjali said that the goal of yoga is the dissolution of the mind. Yoga Shastra says there are many selves. It says the mind is real and the world is real, and that each samadhi experience dissolves the mind little by little. Yeah. There are different ways that people see that. And some people that I had a friend in California that was a guru, and he used to say, I go into samadhi and then I come back and then I go into samadhi. And I have the feeling that every time I go there, I create deeper roots into the self, duality, total duality, myself and the self, the idea that I'm going to samadhi, I'm visiting the self, and I'm creating roots into the self. And I already had, I was already introduced to Vedanta at the time. self-recognition had already taken place, and I had already got into Vedanta. And I tried to explain him that that was duality, but he couldn't see that because he was a big guru saying that Ramana Maharaj was his master, and he got the transmission direct from the master, and his teaching was non-dual teachings. A lot of people teach non-duality, but fundamentally they teach duality, the jiva, the meditator, and the self. Yoga Shastra says that there are many selves. Vedanta says there is only one self, and that you have to remove the notion that the mind is real. If you take a rope to be a snake, you cannot dissolve the snake little by little. They're saying about, no, I'm going to, little by little, I'm going to dissolve the mind. So if you take the mind to be real, in the way, if you take the rope to be a snake, you cannot dissolve the snake little by little. You can only dissolve the snake once for all. And I say, no, it is a snake. Yeah, but I'm working on it, and I start seeing a little bit of the rope, but I still see mostly the snake. No, it does not work that way. The moment that you see a little piece of the rope, you understood that there is no snake. You can only dissolve it instantly through self-knowledge. The mind does not hide the self, because the self evades everything. How can the mind be a problem? How can the mind be an obstacle to hide, to conceal the self? Of course, it is not possible. But on the other hand, we need the mind to have a certain qualities. Otherwise, the mind, which is the self, will not understand that the mind is the self. Understand? So the mind cannot conceal the self. The mind is the self, but the mind needs to be refined in a way so that the mind can understand that I am the self. Right, Claudio? So again, you cannot just dismiss the whole process, the whole concept of mental purification or preparedness to say like, oh no, the mind, has nothing to do because the mind is the self. Yes. Okay, you do not need to do anything to understand that, because for understanding that, you need to contemplate until you understand. But guess what? In order to successfully contemplate on that to the extent that you understand that, you need to do something. And what is that? To prepare your mind. Right? Are you following, Lynn? The mind is not,
I was listening to Swami P on this very subject, and he was talking a long time about the misapprehension of the student who thinks about sadhya moksha as a goal instead of moksha as accomplished fact. And it really, I got it. It's been a great help to Nidhyasana. Yeah.
Those logics, those analyses are very subtle and very beautiful, when you really go, in the subtleties of that kind of analysis, because this is the problem. Everybody has a huge sadhana for experience. And although we hear to begin with that the self-knowledge is not an experience, but unconsciously, subconsciously, we don't believe that. We keep waiting, believing that there will be an event/experience that's going to prove to me that I am limitless consciousness. It has to be an experience, epiphany event. And that, and then we go into all you need to do is what? The whole process is gradually understand until we decide to claim our nature as limitless consciousness. But again, you know, in order for us to really claim it doubtlessly, we need to have a good base of understanding, knowledge. A lot of nididhyasana has to be there to support that claiming. Otherwise, the claiming is only faking until you make it. And sometimes you fake for a long time. So we need to keep doing what we're doing, knowing that enlightenment is not an event, it's not an experience, it is a click of understanding that comes about only Ishvara knows when, you know. But we know that we need to clear our doubts. We need to keep doing this work, following the logic, because it's all a question of identity, you know, identity, you know. And then we need to shift the identity to the subtle aspect of our human experience. You know? And we have to do that by the means of knowledge, understanding. And it's a nice game and nice thing to do in life. The scriptures say that is the real purpose of all births is to come to to claiming, you know? Claiming, understanding that I am this light of consciousness. And that is not an experience, although it's going to change the way we experience the world. The mind does not help hide the self because the self pervades everything. So mind is just an object among so many other objects that is somehow superimposed on the self consciousness. It is present when the mind is present. If it was not present, how could anyone practice self? This self is always present. A thought comes and goes. The mind is an I thought that attaches itself to many other thoughts, objects to make up our life history and so on, the ego. So all of that is happening within the scope of consciousness. Consciousness is present, you know. When the mind is present, when the mind is put to sleep, when the mind, you know, is resolved in samadhi or sahaja samadhi, the mind is not a problem. And if there was no self always present, how could anyone practice yoga? We can only do our yoga if the self is present to begin with. And then we do the yoga trying to find the self, and the self is there, you know, infusing the meditator with consciousness and thoughts to look for its very nature. Okay, next week we begin from the verse 61. The network of desires is destroyed, and the accumulated merits and demerits are rooted out of this samadhi. So it's all about samadhi. We're going to have to keep adjusting it, the samadhi. Although this passage on the Panchadasi is dedicated to nirvikalpa samadhi. Okay. So does anyone have anything to say? Any question? Any contribution? Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. We meet again soon again. Next Monday, let me see, next Monday, Yeah, I'm going to do my best to be with you next Monday. Yeah, I can shift my schedule with my Portuguese class in the seminar I'm going to do, so to keep our class going. Okay. Again, namaste.
Have a good trip. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.